Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style. Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN, 866-SAY-ESPN. Before I get into today's festivities, talking about the NFL, talking about what I saw at take place at Madison Square Garden last night, I want to remind everybody that obviously Sirius XM is a national arm, and we get all of that, Sirius XM Radio. But in terms of free radio, it's called terrestrial radio. That means AM, FM signals. For the last year, I've been on the airwaves in that capacity, strictly in New York and LA. Today marks the last day that I'll be limited to the two largest markets in the United States of America. As of January 2nd, a week from this upcoming Tuesday, you will hear me live nationwide in over 250 plus markets throughout the country. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. My team, Jonathan Winthrop, Nuno Texiera, Catherine Pastor, we thank you so much for your support, because if y'all wasn't showing us love, they wouldn't want to do that. But y'all have showed me love. You've shown this show love. And because of it, we will be nationwide, not just on Sirius XM, Channel 80, but we'll also be live on terrestrial radio, AM, FM signals, in over 250 markets throughout the country. So I thank you so much. Today's show will be the last show for the year. I'll be back Tuesday, January 2nd, ready to roar. That I can promise you. Lots of stuff to get into today, because we got some big-time NFL games coming up this weekend. As far as I'm concerned, two of them stands out more than anything. Of course, obviously, the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Seattle Seahawks. The loser is officially eliminated from from the playoffs. Both of them have to win this game to at least have a chance at making the postseason. Whoever loses is definitively out. They're eliminated, and that is that. Ezekiel Elliott is returning for the Dallas Cowboys. No one knows what to expect from him. On one hand, you got folks that are saying he's going to run roughshod over Seattle's defense, because Seattle's defense ain't what it used to be. With Cam Chancellor, with Richard Sherman, with KJ Wright, with Cliff Averill out, all of these boys. Bobby Wagner, enduring a hamstring injury with teammates saying he needed to sit himself down. The Legion of Boom is no more as we speak. And so because of that, Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a big day, where there are others who sit up there and say, you know what? He's not in football shape because he's been out the last 6 weeks, and there's no way on earth that he's going to get 25 to 30 carries. So as a result, he ain't going to get the 200 yards he's promised to anybody. He may not even get 150 yards. Expect him to be limited. So we can talk about what you expect from Ezekiel Elliott. We can also talk about whether or not Dak Prescott should get a pass for his suspect performance this year in the absence of Ezekiel Elliott. Those are the kind of things that we can discuss, not to mention the fact what the hell has happened to Pete Carroll and his Seattle Seahawks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Rams. They got a big game coming up against the Titans. Remember, the Rams are still vying for number one seed within the NFC conference. They're trying to make the road to the Super Bowl come through Los Angeles. Considering the fact that this is their first year in La, that's a big deal. Considering the way Jared Goff and Todd Gurley and the rest of the crew is playing, that's a big deal. Considering the fact that they're the number one ranked offense with a top 5 defense, that's a big deal. It's a big deal if the road to the Super Bowl has to come through the Coliseum. If you're the Titans, it's a big deal for an entirely different reason. You've lost 2 straight in 3 of your last 5. Your record stands 8-6. You still got a shot at the playoffs, but let me tell y'all something right now. I don't know if anybody's noticed. First of all, Marcus Mariota hasn't had a great year. This is not god-awful, but 12 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. QBR 56, completing less than 63% of his passes. That's not what we expected from Marcus Mariota this year. So he's been somewhat of a disappointment, even though they should have won last week. But they didn't because Jimmy Garoppolo, that former backup to Tom Brady in New England, who recently got traded to San Francisco, who's now 3-0 as a starter with the 49ers. That dude, Jimmy Garoppolo, led them on a late drive, being down 23-22. He drove them downfield, ultimately set up a winning field goal for the San Francisco 49ers. They win the game 25-23. And Jimmy Garoppolo has suddenly earned a nickname of Jimmy G. Ladies and gentlemen, his third start in the National Football League. This is again not the National Football League, his third start for San Francisco. This is against Tennessee, who isn't shabby. 31 for 43, 381 yards. 381 yards. This is Jimmy G. Everybody talking about San Francisco got themselves a quarterback. You know what? Tennessee was saying the same thing a couple of years ago. I wonder what they're saying now. Because Marcus Mariota hasn't looked that impressive. Neither has Jameis Winston. 1 and 2 in the draft a couple of years ago. Neither of them are looking that impressive. Mariota's still looking better than Jameis Winston. But Jameis Winston, listen, Tampa Bay needs to get a new coach in all likelihood. Dirk Cutter ain't cutting it. No pun intended. He ain't cutting it. Jameis Winston, they got to do something. One would argue they should have never got rid of Lovie Smith. Maybe they should have. I don't know the answer to that question. I just know that Dirk Cutter hasn't been the answer. It's amazing how some of these coordinators position themselves to be the heir apparents, the golden boys and the golden childs, and then they get that head job. They can't handle it. That's the situation with Dirk Cutter in Tampa. But in Tennessee, they are 8-6. They are respectable. But you look at their offense, ranked 19th. Their defense, ranked 18th. Both offense and defensively, they're ranked 25. With their passing game on offense against the pass on defense. Tennessee is hard to run on them. They're third in the league against the run. But you just wonder about them and what's going on with them right now. Dick LeBeau is your defensive coordinator. Couldn't come out with a way to stop Jimmy Garoppolo, huh? Mike Mularkey is your head coach. I'm just wondering right now. It's a big game for Tennessee. You don't need to lose this game. You got to find a way to make this happen. Make it work for you. Because if you don't, you'll be on the outside looking in. And that's not a good situation for the Tennessee Titans right now. At 8-6, you ain't going to win the division. That belongs to Jacksonville, the AFC South. But you got Buffalo at 8-6 in the East. Baltimore Ravens at 8-6 in the North. And if you're Tennessee, that's who you're battling with for that final playoff spot. It'll be interesting to see what happens. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Lots of stuff to get into, and I promise you, when we come back, I'll get into a little basketball as well, because there was a show at Madison Square Garden last night, and it didn't involve Kristaps Porzingis at all. At all. But the Knicks still beat the Celtics. How the hell that happened? We'll discuss that and then some up next. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Got a couple of other things I want to get into here. So the New York Knicks beat the Boston Celtics last night. Kyrie Irving put on the show. He dropped 32. We all know how bad that brother is. 12 for 27 from the field. Ended up performing, but still in all, the Knicks ended up winning the game. Kristaps Porzingis, the star of the New York Knicks, absent for the previous 2 games before last night, showed up to Madison Square Garden, all 7 feet 3 of him, and shot 0 for 11 from the field. 0 for 11, 0 for 3 from three-point range, scored just 1 point, and the New York Knicks still won. There wasn't a single starter on the New York Knicks who scored more than 14 points. That was Enes Kanter, put in another double-double with 14 and 10. And the New York Knicks still won. Do you know why they won, ladies and gentlemen? Because this brother named Michael Beasley scored 28 points in the last 17 minutes of the game. Finished with 32 points and 12 rebounds. Hit 13 of his 20 shots from the field, including a 3, which he almost never takes. And by the way, in case y'all didn't know anything about this dude, he actually shoots 52% from the field this year, and he's always been able to score. People have challenged him. Does he have the highest basketball IQ in the world? Does he know the plays, the system? Can he play within the system, et cetera, et cetera? But there's a reason why he's been a journeyman NBA player. Because you know if you need buckets, he'll give you buckets. That's what the New York Knicks have right now. This is not a matter of them being better without Carmelo Anthony. If Carmelo Anthony was there, chances are Michael Beasley wouldn't be there. And it certainly ain't about Beasley being better than Melo. But it is about being excited about a young New York Knicks squad, playing with absolutely nothing to lose, giving you max effort every night, playing together and unselfishly. And oh, by the way, getting production off their bench. The entire Celtics bench. And this is a Celtics team that's 26-9, by the way. The entire Celtics bench we're talking about here scored 21 points for the game. Beasley had 28 in 17 minutes, finishing with 32 for the game. The brother's a scoring machine. And if y'all remember, he and I we didn't have a little tiff. I thought it was misconstrued. I was when he said that there's at least 4 starters on the New York Knicks that could average 25 a game, I said he needed to go and get drug tested. And he took that literally. And in fairness to him, I understood where he was coming from. I didn't know at the time, but he thought I was alluding to some transgressions in his past from a long, long time ago before he became a dad and wanted to morph into the responsible adult that he is. And congratulations to him. He's actually a really good dude. But I wasn't alluding to any of his past transgressions. I was just speaking tongue in cheek, talking about, you need to be drug tested. I would say that to almost anybody when I emphatically disagree with a statement that I think they've made that I think is crazy. That's all it was. It was all in fun. So once we spoke and understood that, there was no hard feelings at all. I root for the guy. He's a member of my favorite franchise, the New York Knicks, that I've been a lifelong fan of, and he's balling right now. But I want to also get back to the Celtics. They've come crashing down to earth. They're basically playing 500 ball since they had that long winning streak. We understand that. I still believe in the Celtics squad. I'd believe in them even more if they had Gordon Hayward healthy. But that's neither here nor there. Let me say this. If it were not for Kyle Kuzma, if it were not for Brandon Ingram, their presence on the Lakers roster, I would be crucifying the Los Angeles Lakers for drafting Lonzo Ball ahead of Jason Tatum. Ladies and gentlemen, this young kid out of Duke, rookie right now, only 19 years of age, 6'9", about 210 pounds, averaging 13 and 5 on the season, shooting 50% from the field. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. I apologize. I didn't want y'all to hear me sneeze. Do y'all realize Jason Tatum is shooting 49.5% from three-point range? 49.5% from three-point range. Ladies and gentlemen, this kid can play. He's hit 53 of 107 three-point shots this year. He's 6'9", and he's 19. And by the way, defends. He defends. This kid is special. I'm telling y'all right now, he's the 3rd overall pick. Drafted right behind Lonzo Ball. If it wasn't for the presence of Brandon Ingram, and I like Lonzo, and I like the way I see Lonzo coming along, and I think Daddy put a lot of pressure on him. There's no big baller brand without Lonzo Ball. Do y'all realize that? There's no big baller brand without Lonzo. Nobody would have gave a damn about LeVar Ball's big baller brand if it wasn't for Lonzo. Hyping Lonzo up, forcing the Lakers to draft him, elevated LeVar Ball, and put big baller brand into the mind's eye. If it wasn't for that, there'd be no big baller brand. Not to knock LeVar in any way, I'm just speaking fact. Not to say it wouldn't be it literally, but there'd be no big baller brand because nobody would care. You care because you know LeVar Ball, and you know LeVar Ball because of Lonzo. Period. And Lonzo has gotten more aggressive this year over the last couple of weeks, and I'm pleased with what I'm seeing. But he ain't no Jason Tatum. Let's pump the brakes on that. Ain't no Jason Tatum here. Let's just be clear. 866-729-3776 is 866-SAY-ESPN. Pretty proud of what I saw from Beasley last night, though. Pretty proud. Got to keep my eyes on the New York Knicks while they're relevant, because you know that eventually they're going to plummet. That's just the way it works with them. It's just the way it works. Hopefully that don't happen to the Lakers either. I got my eyes on all that. The Lakers, the Knicks, some NFL action with the Rams and the Titans. I just can't wait to talk about all of this stuff. Let's go to Vinny in Staten Island. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Vinny?
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call. Couple questions I want to ask you. First, do you think Michael Beasley has a chance of winning the Sixth Man of the Year this year? And also, do you see this Knicks?
I think he has a chance. I think he has a chance if the New York Knicks continue to be competitive and he continues to play the way that he's been playing the last few games.
Okay, my second question is, do you see this Knicks team making the playoffs as like an 8th or maybe 7th seed?
Well, right now, if the players were to end the day, they'd be the 6th seed. So, yes.
Do you think with the road, how they're playing on the road and all these road games coming up, you think they'll still be able to be competitive and be in that spot?
We got to wait and see. The fact of the matter is, listen, the regular season is always tricky, particularly the first part of the year, because the level of focus that these guys need to have isn't always there. And then things amp up as folks get acclimated to the season. They get the legs under them and what have you. And you got to see where things go from there. The New York Knicks, okay, let's take this into consideration. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. All right. But you got Detroit, a road game. That's coming up tomorrow. That's coming up tonight. You got Philly at home on Christmas. Then you got that 3-game road trip in Chicago, San Antonio, New Orleans. Then you got San Antonio at home. You got the Washington Wizards, Miami, and Dallas on the road. They should lose 2 of those 3 games. So I'm just saying like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Of those 9 games, the New York Knicks could easily lose 6. Detroit, both games against San Antonio, Washington, Miami, even New Orleans. I think we have to pay attention to all of that and see what happens.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. The other thing we got to watch out with the Knicks, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a 7-game road trip beginning Monday, January 15th. Brooklyn, Memphis, Utah, Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets, Suns. See what they do then. And then after the Nets, then they got Boston and Milwaukee. So they got like 9 road games in a 10-game stretch dating from January 15th to February 2nd. So in other words, by February 2nd, it's safe to say we'll know whether the New York Knicks are really legitimate or not. By February 2nd, we'll know. 2 days before the Super Bowl. Sounds perfect to me. 866-729-3776, 866-SAY-ESPN. Back with your calls and more on the NBA and the NFL in a minute. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show. Oh, by the way, Damien Woody will be on with us, too. Let's not forget that. More to come with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Don't touch that dial.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Always my honor and privilege to have my guest. You see me jiving with him all the time, throwing haymakers on him. He's got me by about 200 pounds, but I still beat him down on a weekly basis on First Take. I'm talking about NFL analyst extraordinaire, my boy, my little big brother, the one and only Damien Woody. What's up, man? What's going on, big boy?
Man, listen, you be throwing haymakers like George Foreman, and I'm like Ali on the ropes, just making you look silly.
Man,
you look silly.
I know this much.
To throw those haymakers.
I know this much. I don't know what you were thinking about coming to work with that Christmas red tie on today. I mean, I got to work on your wardrobe just a little bit.
I mean, I'm trying to be in the holiday spirit, man, and you just being a grump, man.
I'm being the Grinch. I'm being the Grinch. I'm being the Grinch.
Being the Grinch.
I am. I don't mind. Hey, listen, the Grinch is a part of Christmas, baby. The Grinch is a part of Christmas. Man, let's get into some of these football stories that's going on, man. I mean, first of all, we're approaching week 16 of the NFL season, obviously. The story is Ezekiel Elliott's return. What do you think he's going to do against the Seattle Seahawks this weekend?
Well, listen, we all saw what happened last week with Seattle. I think Todd Gurley is still running right now to this day. But I caution people with Zeke coming back. I know, a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans are excited, and here's why we're cautioning. He's coming back with fresh legs, but he's not in football shape. When you've been off for that long, it is so easy to get out of football shape. I don't think they put that heavy of a workload on him because who knows what might happen. He could end up getting injured, pull a muscle or something like that. I think you got to temper expectation of what you think Zeke is going to bring to that offense because he's still got to work his way back in.
But, Damien, he's the one that said he's going to rush for 200 yards.
He's young, man. These young cats, man, they say anything, man. That's just how these cats are, man. But I know the game. I know how it is, man. When you're out that long, man, you have to get yourself back into football shape. You can run on a treadmill and do that stuff all day, but it's not the same as being in football shape. So we'll see. I'm gonna be watching just like everybody else, but I don't think he'll run for 200 yards.
We're talking to two-time Super Bowl champion Damien Woody right here, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN as well. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. When I look at and I scour the NFC conference, listen, the AFC to me, it's getting interesting, no doubt about it. But when you look at the NFC in comparison, it's just so many storylines. You got Dallas, all right? They're not even in if they win these next two games unless Atlanta and Detroit lose. Okay, you got Carolina and New Orleans. You got the Los Angeles Rams. You got the Philadelphia Eagles, albeit without Carson Wentz. You got the Minnesota Vikings. Who's the biggest team to watch out for in the NFC right now, in your estimation?
Wow. Listen, I always start with the quarterback. The quarterback is with my starting point. And when I look at the field and I look at the teams in the field, I'm keeping my eye on the Saints. And here's why. The Saints got a top 10 offense and defense this year to go along with Drew Brees. Those two boys they have in the backfield, Kamara and Ingram, they are legit, okay? And that defense, they're taking the ball away. It is very reminiscent of when they won the Super Bowl last with Drew Brees. Watch out for the Saints, man. I'm telling you, watch out.
Here's my thing, though. The Los Angeles Rams have the number 1 ranked offense and a top 5 defense. What about them?
Listen, you talking about some young bulls. Those boys, they're young. They don't even know. It's how when you're young, you don't even know how big the moment is. And I think that's where the Los Angeles Rams are. They went into Seattle, one of the hardest places to go out there and win, and they literally beat the brakes off of the Seahawks.
But that's my point. Doesn't that make them an even bigger threat than New Orleans?
Like I said, that my first point is the quarterback. If you had to play one game, who are you choosing between, Jared Goff or Drew Brees?
Fair enough. But then I could come back at you and say this and ask this question to you. What about Cam Newton? Because with Carson, in Minnesota, you got Case Keenum. In Philadelphia, you got Nick Foles because Carson Wentz went down. I understand you got Drew Brees. Matt Ryan is the reigning league MVP, but then there's also a former league MVP in Cam Newton who with Carolina who's been balling itself. What about them?
Isn't that why you said the NFC is so intriguing? Look at all the teams. I could put all those teams in a basket, and you couldn't be wrong either way because all those teams are good. They got good defenses. They can score. The quarterbacks are playing at a high level. So it's like you can't go wrong. I went with New Orleans because I love the improvement defensively. They got 2 stud running backs. They got receivers, and they got a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. That's why I went that direction.
We're talking to Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's transition to the AFC. I was very disgusted with the Steelers' loss. I know that they got jobbed by the officials, that bogus call against the Steelers that nullified the touchdown from Big Ben to Jesse
Your
James.
fandom coming out, Stephen A.
I'll be the first to admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. But I will say this, Damien Woody. The bottom line is, before that, they gave up 3 straight catches of 26, 26, and 17 yards to Gronk from Brady, plus the 2-point conversion to Gronk after Deion Lewis ran in for a touchdown. Not to mention the fact that, again, you've got a secondary in Pittsburgh that seems ill-equipped to stop Brady when it really, really counts. So is the AFC really about New England, or is there some other team that we need to watch out for, whether it's Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Kansas City, or anybody else?
Listen, if the road is going through Foxborough, it's going to be awfully hard. Now, I said the one team equipped to beat New England in Foxborough is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What?
It's the Stephen A. Hear me out. Now, I'm not saying they will, because the issue I have with Jacksonville is the quarterback. That's the one position that I look at. It's too lopsided. Even though Blake Bortles is playing pretty good football right now. But listen, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got the best defense in the league. They got 2 stud running backs. They got a top-flight O-line. They got weapons on the outside. This team is built to go anywhere and ball against anyone. The question is Blake Bortles. That's it. That's it with the Jaguars.
What do you mean that's it? Like that's a small thing. It's the quarterback. That's a big question. That's a big question mark.
I'm not saying it's not a big deal. But what I am saying, anyone who's been watching the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I get it, they're in a smaller market. But Blake Bortles has been playing well the past 3 weeks to a month now. If he continues this, nobody wants to play the Jaguars. I can tell you that right now.
He's been completing like 70% of his passes over the last 5 or 6 weeks. He's been very, very good. But I like the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. They can't be underestimated. But they're another young team that really doesn't know what these moments are all about. And that's what I hold against them, particularly if they have to go on the road. Who has to be more leery of them right now, New England or Pittsburgh? Because Pittsburgh, to me, can't afford to lose another game. Because if they do, then Jacksonville will have the 2 seed in the AFC instead of Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, listen, Jacksonville already beat Pittsburgh head-to-head in Pittsburgh. It's not like they're scared to play Pittsburgh. They've already beaten them in Pittsburgh. I'm just saying, listen, Jacksonville plays a brand of football that not a lot of people want to play. They're physical. They're athletic everywhere. They got athletes everywhere. The biggest question is Blake Bortles. Are we going to keep seeing the same Blake Bortles we've been seeing the past few weeks? If we do, watch out for the Jaguars.
Now,
that's all I'm going to say.
My last question to you is this. You're a 2-time Super Bowl champion. You won those Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. Yes, we know what Tom Brady can do and what he has done and what he's continuing to do thus far this season. But I have noticed in the Bay Area that Jimmy Garoppolo is undefeated in San Francisco, 3-0 as a starter, and you watch him lead that team is something special. As you reflect on it, do you think the New England Patriots did the right thing by letting go of Jimmy G, or did they make a mistake by letting him go because they want to continue to place their faith in a 40-year-old superstar quarterback in Tom Brady?
Well, that 40-year-old is probably going to be the league MVP this year. I mean, let's face it. I think it came to a point where they just couldn't hold on to Jimmy G much longer. I think they put all their cards behind the GOAT Tom Brady. Well, clearly, listen, if you're a Pats fan, as excited as you are right now, what your team is right now, you do have to be peeping out there and saying, man, this guy is going to be a problem in the league for a long time. Because guess what? Over his last 3 games, he's put up the best numbers in franchise history, and we know the quarterbacks that's been in that franchise, Joe Montana and Steve Young. Those guys haven't even put up the type of numbers that Jimmy G has put up. So I've always said momentum at the end of the season can propel you the next season. Watch the Niners next year. They're picking high, but they're finishing this season out strong. They're going to be a team that we're going to have to look at next and be like, this team is going to be in the mix in the NFC West next year.
Gotcha. Damien Woody, always appreciate you, buddy, man. I'll holler at you later. Merry Christmas, big boy, and I'll see you soon.
All right, Merry Christmas, my man.
All right. The one and only Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 866-729-3776 is always the number to call up. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. You heard what he had to say. You'll hear what I have to say in response, and then some. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Thanks again to Damien Woody, NFL analyst extraordinaire, for coming on the show with us. Talking about a slew of NFL games scheduled to take place this week. And we'll get more into those games. Two biggest games, like I said, LA Rams versus Tennessee Titans. And, of course, Seattle Seahawks at the Dallas Cowboys. Potential playoff berth on the line. The loser is eliminated. One of the other things I failed to mention is our colleague here at ESPN, the one and only Mr. Louis Riddick, was interviewed by the New York Giants yesterday afternoon for their general manager's position. Let me say this about Louis Riddick. I've gotten to know Louis Riddick working at ESPN with him over the past couple of years. He is smart as a whip, as astute as they come. He's poised. He's got tremendous leadership capabilities. He knows the game of football inside and out, and his integrity is not to be questioned. He cares about the NFL product. He cares about the NFL brand. He understands the responsibility that comes along with being an executive in a National Football League, and it means the world to him. I don't know how interested he is in the New York Giants job any more than I know how interested the Giants are in him being the new general manager for that franchise. But there's two things that I'm incredibly confident of when it comes to Louis Riddick. A, he'll know what he's doing. And B, no one will care more. I'm talking about uplifting the franchise and doing what it takes to put a winning product on the football field. I'm not saying Jerry Reese didn't try. I'm not saying Ben McAdoo didn't care, although I wonder about him sometimes, or wondered about him sometimes. But I know Louis Riddick, and I've talked to him on many, many occasions, long before he was ever a candidate for the general manager's job with the New York Yankees, with the New York Giants, I'm sorry. I know why I said the Yankees. Giants. And I'm telling you, I hope that he wants that job badly, and I'm hoping that the Giants want him badly. It ain't just about drafting. It's also about free agency. It's also about making deals and trades. It's also about establishing a culture that players want to be a part of. And it's also about being wise enough, smart enough, and eloquent enough to be the face of a franchise in the media capital of the world when it comes to talking to the media all the time. Not that GMs have to talk every day, but you got to be a face. You see Louis Riddick on TV. And in case you may have forgot, which I sincerely doubt you have, turn on NFL Live. Turn on NFL Countdown on Sunday mornings. Look at this man do his work. Watch the NFL draft over the last couple of years. Watch this man work. He's special. He's special. For all you Giants fans out there looking for a GM that's capable and gifted and knowledgeable, who cares? Louis Riddick's your man. Trust me on that. Louis Riddick is your man. 866-729-3776, 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to the calls we go. Let's go to Matt in Rockland County. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, man.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing? I just got a question for you. As the rules are currently constituted with the catch regarding to the Steelers-Patriots, how are you going to say it's a ridiculous call when that's what the rule is?
Well, because I hate the rule. I know it's the rule, and I acknowledge that it's the rule. Just like it was the rule with Des Bryant. I still thought it was a bogus. I think it's a bogus rule. Because for me, when you catch the ball with the outstretched arms, you pull it in and you move with it in complete control of the football, especially if your knee's already down. To me, it should be a catch. But I do understand that it's the rule. I'm just saying to you, it was a ridiculous rule. That's my position.
I agree with you with Louis Riddick. I think it would be a good fit for the Giants.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call. Look, man, you're the New York Giants. First of all, understand, Geno Smith, when he was the backup and he got a start against the Oakland Raiders this year, first time a black quarterback threw a football as a starter for the New York Giants in franchise history. Year's 2017. That's just pathetic. But guess what? Forget Jerry Reese. He's gone now. Wish him nothing but the best. Louis Riddick is on the clock. The Giants would be very, very wise to grab this man. Hour number 2 up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.